Jerry Rosario, but commonly known as Jerry. I am a Jesuit priest working in the southern part of the country of India, the state of Tamil Nadu, as a pastor, as a theologian, as a social activist and writer, and many other things God has blessed me with, and accordingly I am putting my best and might all for God's mission. I am quite delighted to be at your service when you have come from all over the world for this particular World Youth Day, and especially coming from Jesuit communities and Jesuit institutions and Jesuit ministries as Jesuit collaborators. Very great of you that you have traveled all the way to Portugal for this particular time to be in unison with all the youngsters who are coming from all over the world. Unfortunate that I have missed the opportunity to be with you, but I promise you my very special prayers for you and best wishes for you, much more as and when the World Youth Day comes to a close. When you get back, my prayer for each and every one of you is that you should carry certain sparks and certain sense and certain messages and certain challenges, certain inspirations and certain invitations for your implementations as a younger generation, upcoming generation of the mystical body of Christ Jesus. And there I am quite delighted to be at your service. At the same time, as I said little earlier, my prayers for each and every one of you. The topic that is given to me is revolutionary holiness. I tell you, very loaded focus. I pondered over, and accordingly I have something to share with you, born out of my own experience, because I also have been in 23 years to be exact, close to a quarter of century, in the remote villages with the least and the last, with the poorest and the neediest, both sociological and geographical peripheries, and especially working for women and also working for the young and young at risk and who are really going through certain stress. And accordingly I had certain quarter of a century of experience with those in the remote villages, parishes, and also in certain suburban slums. So what I now share with you are nothing but the reflections born out of those anubhava, that experience. To begin with, I am today what I am also because I am touched by and transformed by and challenged by the very association that I had with the young generations. And I like to know here immediately move over to this focus, and nothing but this one, namely as I worked with the parish youth and village youth, rural youth, slum youth, and also some dioceses and archdiocesan youth groups, they have come across three types of youths. And one is they are come and go youngsters. They will put in their presence for their programs, and they also will put in their experiences across. And much more, they will be delighted to take part in the schedules that are meant for the upcoming the young generations. But they make up about plus or minus 25%. I like to call them as CGU. What are they? C, come, and G, go, young. And they are come and go youngsters. And they will be there at that particular time, but nothing can be expected of them. And accordingly what happens is, namely that programs as and when they attend get rather enriched. We cannot deny the fact. But whether they will be happy to move ahead and go further is rather a question mark. So I call them come and go youngsters. There is another 55%, plus or minus, is more than half of the generation. And going by my experience. And they are people of this type. Namely DSY, D, do, yes, something, do something youngsters. And they will have something to contribute to the beauty and the quality of the society in the given neighborhood, and where I work in the villages or the slums and whatnot, and thereby certainly a qualitative contribution they would make to the upcoming and much more the society in the given time and space. But now what I want to refer to is the third type, and that's only about 20%. You remember the first one, 25%, come and go. The second is 55%, do something. Whereas the third one, there are only plus or minus 20%. And I like to call them as VEY. V, there's certain vision, certain dream, certain horizon, certain expectation in terms of a new society. And they are rather convinced of that particular goal and much more committed to it, come what may. In that way, they are not only bothered about themselves. They are not only thinking in terms of doing something for the present today's. They also think in terms of tomorrow's. They are kind of a futuristic perspectives of life that I call V. E is engineering, and that is vision. It's a kind of a dream. As the psychologists would put it, dare to dream. Whereas the second one is E, dare to do. They may not do everything as such, but they will set the ball rolling. They will give you a triggering, kick-starting. And I like to put them all in terms of engineering. Engineering. And they in a way kind of about motivating, mobilizing not only younger generations because they themselves are young, but also people, young and old, men and women of any gender, of any backdrop, they like to give you a push. And the push in terms of V and E, that is vision and engineer. Now I am coming to the topic which is given to me. And the third type is I call revolutionaries. That means they revolve. And they don't want to leave the society as they found it at the time of their birth. Here I am quoting Pope Francis, who will be also attending the World Youth Day. And he puts in there joy of the gospel, number 183. And he has got a big paragraph, but the essence of that particular number 183, joy of the gospel, goes like this. Namely, we should not leave the society at the time of our departure as we found the society at the time of our birth appearance. We may be living for 60, 70, 80 years. The number of years that we live is only a quantity. But what is expected of us is to add certain beauty, quality, humanity, as such even divinity to the society. We may not do everything, but we have to set the ball rolling. And so that tomorrow's society will be more kind, more compassionate, and more charitable, and more transparent, and more truthful, and more free, and more human, as such more divine. More human, as such more divine. I'm also asked to share my own experiences. In the light of these things, I like to know share. And what I am today, because of many factors, but I have to throw the spotlight on this one. Namely, when we now really come close to the people. In the words of Pope Francis, when we have the smell of the sheep, and whether I was a student of the Jesuit student, seminarian or scholastic in formation, or after my ordination profession, when I worked as a pastor or a pastoral worker and social pastoral worker. And then I saw to it that I come very close to the people. And here I have to speak because I am asked to give you a testimony. And what I am now sharing is with a touch of transparency. Testimony with a transparency. And the people taught me a lot of things. They transformed me. It's true, my Jesuit society contributed its fullness in terms of getting myself educated and motivated and orientated and that way directed if not dedicated. But when you really come close to the people and they really teach you, put it another way, God of history talks to us through the least and the lost. I am a typical example of that particular learning process. And there I am bringing certain sociology. The sociology says like this: listen to listen to the last and the least, and they may be rather what we call it very pushed to the margins, but they have certain experiences to share with us, certain expressions to highlight and enlighten us, and they have got certain power to share with us. When we now live with them, listen to them, and as I said a little earlier, God of history, God of Jesus is speaking to us. I like to always think like this: Jesus' public ministry started at the age of 30, and when he concluded his life, as per the biblical historians, he was only 32 years and 7 months. That means only 2 years and 7 months. And he, within that short span of time, the time was short, but thrust was sharp. I have to, here I have to come to my own case, because in the process I met God. As I said little earlier, I listened to God, and God, I encountered God personally. Though certainly God called me, gave me the vocation to be a priest, to be a Jesuit and whatnot. But in what way I to be a priest, in what way I should be a Jesuit, and what way I should really come up in, as per the expectation of God, I tell you, all the experiences and the grassroots gave me. They also gave me certain gifts and talents which I could not discover in myself earlier. But as I never ever thought I can talk like this. I was rather a shy fellow. I was rather a kind of a lying low. But when I started working in the villages, and one or two villages where I worked, I have come to my mind. You may not know, but I cannot but give credit to the people of those villages. And the people over there, and especially the younger generation, they challenged me, in a way reformed me, and also refined me, and also transformed me. And accordingly, then it occurred to me that I need to also contribute whatever services I could render to them, and so that they can come up. So the revolution is not only in terms of one's life. It should have a snowballing effect. Once I experience and the revolution, a change over, a pass over, a move over, I need to also see the people with whom I have got touch. They also should go through certain changes for better. And accordingly, I contributed to the extent possible in terms of their education, enlightenment, and much more encouragement and empowerment. In what sense? Not only in terms of academics, but also in terms of their rights. Because they were all outcast, as we say in the traditional classical Indian understanding of the society, and they are all untouchables. They are outcast, they are Dalits, and they are silent, they are oppressed, and they stand in need of certain kick-starting, and so that they can come up in life. All those years, in all those parishes and villages, and I motivated youngsters to begin with, so that they will become the agents of revolution. And whatever I had, I shared with them, so to say, not only, not much in terms of money or thing, much more in terms of talents and time and informations and inspirations, so that they also will get galvanized, and in a way they will get really pushed up, and so that younger generations, the young in those places, will really come up and to take up the responsibility of agents of social change. Because as I said earlier, the social change, social transformation is a kind of a generic term, but a political language is revolution. And everybody has to now go through. There's a symbol for it, and the symbol is nothing but wheel. Imagine a wheel. The wheel is supposed to rotate, and so that it can move onward and forward. But in case, at one particular time of history, at one particular juncture of society, the wheel gets stuck, and the upside of the what you call the wheel is all the time up. And the lower side, the down, is all the time down. Something wrong with the wheel. And somebody had to engineer it. And so that the wheel starts moving. And it rotates. And accordingly the changes come over. And we move onward and forward. That is nothing but making the society better and brighter. And that is called revolution. Because when the topic was given to me, revolution, I pondered over this way. Whenever, as per our history, whenever we come across the word revolution, we only think of what we call French Revolution. One example, 1789, or Russian Revolution, 1916, or I am coming from India, we also call that one Indian Revolution, 1947, or Chinese Revolution, that is 1949, and so on and so forth. But revolution is a big word. But each and every one of us, I want to tell you, my young friends, each and every one of us should have this particular fire. I will not leave the society as I found. I will certainly make the society better and move the wheel of the society so that we keep going and also keep growing. Keep going and also keep growing. Now I move on to another focus of my presentation, that is nothing but holiness. Revolution stands for certain holiness. And as the Magis and the members who have come over there, certainly you know the great man, Petru, and who put this way, namely, be holy, be happy, be healthy, and be a saint. Be a saint. When we say we need to have the sainthood and the holiness, none of us can have 100% holiness. None of us can present ourselves that they have reached the 100% of saintliness. But, when we really become more and more human, much more, when we become more and more concerned about others, then the holiness really rubs our shoulders. And the saintliness become part and parcel and some substance of each and every one of us. My prayer for you is, at the end of this World Youth Day, when you go back, and you should have that particular holiness pushed up, and the saintliness grown up, and thereby this particular World Youth Day that you are meeting at Lisbon in Portugal should give you that particular acceleration of your life, animation of your life, and the holiness should become part and parcel of us. Good. Let me now attempt to define what is the saintliness. I have thought of in terms of 5 S's. And the first S is simplicity. Simplicity. Because we are living in a globalized world, and we are in a modernized world, and we are also consumerized world, privatized world, liberalized world, digitalized world. And there is a tendency to become materialistic. And we become individualistic. And we also will become what we call is selfish. And selfism, egoism may take over. There, we have to accept the challenge and to be simple in life. High thinking, simple living. To the extent possible. From the first yes, I go to the second yes, that is sensitivity. And sensitivity is what? With the concerns of the people who are pushed to the margins. Pope Francis, in all his exhortations, in all his encyclicals, in all his apostolic instructions, he has got this particular point. That is nothing but, and we need to be really concerned about the crisis and the causes of the poorest. Though generally said poor, but we also have got that particular analytical view. In a way, each and every one of us is poor. But some are poorer. But there is also a section called poorest. In the words of Mother Teresa, and they are known as the poorest of the poor. And that sensitivity. We also may be poor, but that's not the point being considered over here. As part of our saintliness and holiness, and the sensitivity should become one of the characteristics, if not one of the demands of our holy life, saintly life. From that I move on immediately to the third yes, that is solidarity. Once the sensitivity comes, it's not only in the emotional line. We need to even become in a way physically involved. Solidarity. Solidarity. And each situation should tell you in what way. As I said earlier, I went through to certain extent possible, but that's good enough. Even Jesus says in some context, 30-fold, 60-fold, then 100-fold. At least you have to begin with 30-fold. And that is as a pass mark, so to say. And the solidarity. We need to feel one with them. Our heart should beat with the heart beatings of the people who are in the sidelined peripheries. From there goes the fourth S. Fourth S is nothing but serviceability. So simplicity in terms of oneself. Sensitivity in terms of the concerns. And the solidarity in terms of the least and the last. And the fourth one is serviceability. I tell you, my dear friends, since you're all young, you have got decades to go by. You have got another 30, 40, 50, 60 years before you. And you have to really calculate your life in terms of contributing in one way or other, and that I call it service. In the words of Jesus, become a good Samaritan. When the wounded society is there, don't leave it as such. Touch the body and touch the society and do something what is possible. Serviceability. From there comes the fifth one, and that is put together. Simplicity, sensitivity, solidarity and serviceability put together is a spirituality. Now I am moving further, and the spirituality again is a big word, but there is nothing but having a certain guts, certain boldness and certain courage to swim against the currents. Swim against the currents. What is that one? When the world is now taken up with racism, classism, casteism, tribalism, materialism, consumerism, individualism, all the isms are extremisms. And all the extremisms are nothing but negativism. We need to go against the currents. When baby Jesus are there, only 40 days. Luke's Gospel chapter 2. When Mary and Joseph offered that particular 40-day boy child at the temple, Simeon said, is a sign of contradiction. That means go against the flow. Don't go along with the tide. Have the guts to go against the flow. So all the isms, not all can be taken up. You choose as per your situation. Whichever you are coming from, whichever continent you are coming from, whichever community you are coming from, whichever institution you are coming from, whichever association you are coming from, and check. One or the other isms will be there. And see that you really become an agent of change and really to even go against the currents, even if you stand as a single person. That is called power of one. That is a spiritual power. God gives you and He expects of you. And from there I go to the final thought. Final thought is, namely, everybody has got a vocation. I am not talking only a vocation about becoming a priest or becoming even a Jesuit or any other consecrated vowed person, or a vocation even to get married and vocation to be single. All these vocations are there. But I am not referring to one vocation. And the vocation is nothing but human vocation. And each and every one of us being created in God's image, and God has given a vocation and a call. And the call is nothing but a challenge. Challenge is nothing but, as I put up to now, and I put it in some way, namely that live for others so that they will come up. In another way, in the words of John the Baptist, we decrease so that others may increase. I like to conclude this way. As everybody has been given by God a vocation, a call. And the call is for nothing but this one, that we will not live for oneself. We live for others. In the words of Pedro Arupe, certainly you are familiar with that particular phrase, is nothing but this one. We need to become men, women, that are human, for others. And we have to become men and women, humans, with others. In the process, we need to empty ourselves so that others may have life and life in abundance. John's Gospel chapter 10 verse number 10. And we have to give life to the lifeless, hope to the hopeless, breath to the breathless, and so that they will have a dignified life, and so that our life becomes all the more meaningful. In this particular process, things are not going to happen easily. We may have to create certain mess, and the mess is a holy mess. That also being sanctified by God, as God has given us the call, and even the mess will be holy mess. And a holy mess, M-E-S-S. People may find fault with us. They may take their own time to approve us and acknowledge our contribution. But still, we need to have that particular determination and dedication to move ahead. I wish you all the best in this particular line of thought. And so that this will not remain only as thought. And we also translate this thought into certain personal praxis, personal life, and also common life, not only in terms of society, even in terms of cosmic life at large. I pray for you. As I pray for you, also pray for me. I wish you all the best, all throughout the World Youth Day. And what we need to keep going is, in terms of post-World Youth Day, something should emerge, and so that they contribute to the emergence of a new society, a new earth, new earth.